Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. I'm sorry it took me so long to post this, but I had to wait until the painting was delivered. This was made by request, and the person requesting it didn't know what the finished piece would look like, so I didn't want to spoil the surprise by posting the progress on social media. Before I start explaining the progress, I also want to let you know that I didn't film the entire progress. Due to some camera problems that were completely my fault, I wasn't able to film everything. On the other hand, the parts that are missing are not that important to understand the technique that I am explaining here. Due to the size of this painting, it is also the first time that I myself will be on camera. When I am on camera, I don't pay any attention to it. And I also don't pay any attention to what I look like when I'm painting, so please forgive me if I look like a slob. So let's begin this project. As always, you can find the tools that I'm using in the description below. The canvas I'm painting on is 80 by 60 centimeters, and I am putting 2 base coats of white acrylic down first. I am using a foam roller to do this, but you can easily do it with a big brush as well. Everything, of course, depends on the size of the painting you're making. In the past, I've always used this foam roller, but I've come to realize that it soaks up a lot of paint and it doesn't really transfer that much paint onto the canvas itself. So in the future, I might consider using a bigger brush for that, even though it might make the progress take a little longer. It is important that you cover the entire canvas with the white paint. Of course, it can be difficult to see whether or not you've missed a spot, and for this you can put the canvas towards the light, and then you will see darker and lighter areas. The darker parts are the parts where you've painted, and the lighter parts are the areas where you've missed a spot. I have painted this over the course of several days, so you will see some outfit changes. I usually only paint on Saturday mornings for about an hour or two. After that, my back will start to hurt because of bad posture. Working in intervals like this also prevent me from making a lot of mistakes. In the past, I would finish a piece like this in, I don't know, maybe a weekend, and I would paint constantly, like the entire day. And then afterwards, I would realize that I made a mistake in the drawing or made a mistake while painting, and because you're constantly focusing on that piece in a short period of time, it's hard to see the mistakes you've made. So going back to it and leaving it alone for a week, it will allow me to see those mistakes, because I haven't seen it for a week and then I come back and I'm like, oh my god, that is totally wrong. So it helps me as an artist to implement those intervals. The next step is the most important part. This one will make or break your painting. If you look at the picture, you can see that the subject is touching the edges of the frame. To me, that means there is no margin for error. To make it as perfect as possible, I will use some basic math to transfer the image to the canvas. I calculate the ratio that I need to enlarge my image onto the canvas, and then I divide the image into halves, and then if I need more detail, I will split it in half again. These are the markings that you can see in the image. Afterwards, I will transfer these markings to the canvas. So for instance, if you know that your ratio is 1:5, this means that a centimeter on your reference picture is 5 centimeters on the canvas, and then you can map out where the markings are supposed to go. An important note here is that the half of your picture does not mean that the half will be exactly in the center of your canvas. Everything depends on the ratio and the size of both images. For instance, the width of my reference picture was a little smaller than the frame that I am painting on. This means that my reference picture and the subject in it will be more towards the left, I think, yes, the left side, and on the right side I will have some extra space to put in the background. Drawing an outline always needs practice, so if you're not used to doing this, practice as much as you can, and preferably start with a smaller size painting. While you are practicing drawing outlines, you can learn from other artists how they do it, or you can discover techniques that work for you, and all of these things will help you with bigger canvases in the future. For the drawing of the outline, I am using a HB pencil, and I must say that if you touch your hand on the pencil, it will smudge. That is why in the end I will go over it with white again to clean up the smudged areas. If you are very prone to making mistakes, it's also better to use a graphite pencil because it allows itself to still be erased. You will see me do this several times because I made several mistakes. It has been a really long time since I've made a big painting like this, and by a really long time I mean years, so I was very out of practice. But as I said before, this is the most important part of the painting, so if you need to fix something, do it in this stage. Make sure that when your outline is done, it is absolutely perfect and as detailed as you need it to be before you start painting. For this picture, I am using 4 colors, white, black, and 2 grays. Of course, the image didn't come in these 4 colors. I used GIMP to edit the picture. I find the painting part the easiest and most relaxing part of the entire piece. Since I've already drawn a very detailed outline and I know where everything is supposed to go, I just need to fill in the areas. It is basically a coloring book and you're using the reference picture to see which color goes where. is some of the last footage that I was able to film before I had my camera problems. Apparently, before I went on to my trip to Canada, I formatted my SD card in the wrong format, and I didn't realize that I had made this mistake because the SD card was working perfectly in my other camera. So eventually I got it figured out and was able to film some of the more detailed progress that I made that you can see here. For the details, I am basically just trying to transfer what I see on the reference picture onto the canvas, and I do this by putting down little dots of color. The last thing left for me to do is clean up everything and make sure it looks good. So wherever I have smudges from the graphite, I go over it with another layer of white. That's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.